What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. BobbyFi here. No, we have no sheets. He's on vacation, so I hope he enjoys the next few days. I'm still on vacation as well, but able to get these shows out for you. And I'm down in Mexico, so I'm not going to be able to play myself, but I'm going to talk through each slate, talk about what I think, and obviously I'll be available in Discord as much as I'm able to. If I'm not there, you got Goldie, Rody, the other guys as well, Adam, and everybody like that. Hope everybody's doing well. Miss seeing you guys. I'll be back around on the 7th probably for my back to business, and we got some cool new stuff coming out that I look forward to. So if you guys don't mind, give us a like and subscribe, all that stuff. And with that said, let's get into this slate going game by game. First look, as we always say, there is a lot less like obvious value than you would want, but by the time the games actually play, we know that's probably not going to be the case. NBA is very frustrating this time of year, so I always encourage a little bit of bankroll management. It's tough because you have Miles McBride ruled out after lock last night. It's just going to happen more this time of year. Probably we're a few days away from where it really stops. That kind of stuff stops happening. But realistically, in the NBA, it kind of always is on the table for happening. All right, I'm going to start off going game by game here with Indiana in Miami, and I will try to go live later before lock. By the way, probably around 6:30 Eastern, but it's going to be a little bit depending on where I am, and it's kind of tricky being on a boat trying to figure out how to do this. We're lucky enough to have reception enough to get it done as it is. All right. With that said, starting off with Indiana and Miami, obviously not a great matchup pace-wise or anything for Indiana. Nothing really standing out. Halliburton's had a good game against these guys a few times in the past. I don't mind the idea of a shot on Halliburton. I don't mind the idea of Turner, but probably going to be on the outside looking in for me in this game by the time we actually hit lock. On the Miami side, however, it is a decent pace game, and with such low ownership everywhere, obviously we're not sure about Butler, we're not sure about Robinson. That's going to dictate a lot of different things. There could be some serious value here. I kind of like taking shots on Terry Rozier anyway, and I definitely like Bam in this matchup. So those are the two guys I would have right now as on the table. But obviously, if Butler's out, we're looking at Hero. I still think Hero's playable, but it's just you kind of need a ceiling type game if Butler's in. If Butler's out, I think you can play Hero pretty freely. And if Duncan Robinson's out, that'll open up some more as well. So gonna wait and see on that one. Boston in Minnesota. Nothing really showing up for Boston, but again, Kristaps and Jaylen Brown questionable. When we see that with Boston, we usually see one of the guys end up sitting. It really depends on which one. It's hard to speculate on what we would do. If Porzingis is out, obviously bump up for Horford, but potentially a bump for even making Cornette viable as a long shot play. Jaylen Brown being out obviously bumps up Tatum, but as of right now, nothing. We'll touch on this one a little bit closer to lock. Minnesota. All right, you are getting some value on the Minnesota side. It's really just because of the pricing and because we don't have other extreme value that it stands out so much. I think we'll have better things by the end of the day than Jaden Daniels. We sort of know what that play is. Playing it as chalk doesn't always feel great. Naz Reid with a massive ceiling all the time, but again, playing this chalk is not always the best feeling in the world. So I'm a little up in the air with what I want to do as far as this one's concerned. I do like the actual Naz Reid matchup. This feels like a game where he could explode. And we've been seeing DiVincenzo getting a little bit more work lately. I think Naz Reid and Anthony Edwards, who's always played very well against the Celtics for what it's worth, are probably the two most interesting pieces for me on the Minnesota side. But you certainly could argue for Julius Randle, for Gobert, for Conley. Just for me, I'm looking more at Reid, Edwards as sort of my focal guys. I actually think Edwards is getting a little too low ownership here. I think he has a big game tonight. I think we're looking at 50 plus from him a good portion of the time. Clippers in OKC, not a great matchup for them. Obviously, OKC is one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive team in the NBA. Chris Dunn, same things you're going to hear as usual. Chris Dunn, maybe you take a shot on a long shot, Kevin Porter Jr. That's something I could certainly tuck myself into. When ownership's all going one way to Dunn, you've got Coffee at 3,200 for value. Yeah, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. I think I'd rather play Derek Jones than Coffee if it was just up to me personally, but certainly both are viable. And then Harden back in OKC, even in a tough matchup, you could justify it, but really haven't reached anything yet that's a priority for me on this slate, with the exception of, I'm going to go back to the Naz Reid. Again, sometimes worry about playing it as chalk, but as of right now, I think he makes enough sense to be a core play at least. But yeah, so the Clippers, I do think that Kevin Porter Jr. as a long shot play is definitely viable. And that's probably my favorite one here. And I love that he's not getting any love, any ownership. That is somebody I would absolutely consider playing as a contrarian value play. OKC, we always have these guys projecting because they have a bunch of cheap guys because they just play so many bodies. I think you could take a shot with Dort or Cason Wallace. The low-owned guy I would be interested in is Isaiah Joe. And look, a little bit of a revenge for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Maybe they didn't believe in him enough. Certainly don't mind him at 10-9, but nothing that quite makes the priority list for me. You could argue that Dort should, if the slate locked right now, make the priority list just because he's going to play the minutes and he's 4,200. I think I like Wallace almost as much as I like Dort, and I think I like Isaiah Joe as a pivot off of both of them. You could make the same case for AJ Mitchell as Isaiah Joe. It's just like you're playing roulette with the OKC guys. We just don't know which of the many bench guys they play are whose night it's going to be. They really do fluctuate the minutes and everything. There is some potential blowout angle also. I think I'm talking myself into this Isaiah Joe play. That's something I could certainly talk myself into. All right, Brooklyn in Milwaukee. We have Zaire Williams and Noah Clowney, both questionable. If anybody's out, and even as it stands right now, I don't mind the Day'Ron Sharpe thing. I think the projection might be a little bit aggressive, but I certainly don't mind it. I like D'Angelo Russell quite a bit here. I think that they're going to give him the minutes, and we saw him play well yesterday. I think that he's going to get the role that he didn't have in LA. I think 5,200 is going to look like a steal in a while, so I'm actually going to put him as a core play right now. I love the Russell play today. I think Cam Thomas is an interesting contrarian play. I know the numbers haven't been there quite what we wanted, but I think he's the other one who I have the most interest in outside of the Day'Ron Sharpe, which I'm guessing by the end of the day will have better value. But again, we don't know for sure. We've seen these things go every which way in the past. I'm just reading some comments in here. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Del. Do you think it'd be updating projections? Sheets will not be able to update projections. I wouldn't count on it the next day. I would just count on using the SaberSim projections as well as Goldie's projections over the next period, but especially SaberSim will be up to date. As far as NBA goes, you kind of want to be using SaberSims anyway because Sheet's not going to update every 5 minutes because he has to manually do it. So it's a good, first look baseline, and it's much more effective for other sports. But for NBA, I would encourage everybody just to be using the SaberSim projections at the moment. All right, I got through Brooklyn. We'll talk about Milwaukee. Nothing that stands out. Low-owned Giannis certainly always is viable, but not something that I'm trying to do. I don't mind if you want to do it. It's just nothing that I want to go out of my way to play here. Giannis would be the highest level of interest. Middleton at that price, sure, but probably not for me. I think there's just better places to spend tonight. All right, we'll move over to Philly. I think Embiid is a tremendous play tonight. Love Embiid as a core play at 9,400. That's where I'd like to spend my money. I think Embiid will be back up to 10.5, 11K in no time. Really, really like him here. And Paul George at 7K. It's really hard to argue with that. Assuming Philadelphia keeps this game close, I think you could even throw Maxey into the mix. I'd like to play 2 of those 3 in a good portion of my lineups. We talked about some other value that's out there and some that might be opening up. I really like the idea of getting to George and Embiid. This is just a really cheap price for George. I know he's had kind of a down year, but I think that both these guys are extremely in play against the Golden State team that struggled defensively and plays at a pretty decent pace. Trace Jackson-Davis is going to look like a good play right now. I'm not sure that's going to be the case by the time we get to lock, but I don't mind him for value if the slate were to lock right now. I also don't mind Dennis Schroeder for value. I think this is a reasonable price. Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell. I prefer Russell, but I think you could argue for both those guys being, you could certainly play both of them, and they are cheaper. You could easily see the 6X from both of them. Final game, Portland in LA. Did want to remind everybody, look, you've got a nice 3-hour gap between these games. You will have the final result. So if you do have the late game, which I think you're going to get to quite a bit of, you'll have the option of late swapping. And I really encourage everyone to use our TrueDFS/SaberSim late swap product. It's an awesome tool. And I think it's an awesome way to have an edge over the field. And it really takes into account everybody's ownership, where everyone's at, how well you're doing, and it will optimize your lineups. It's a really, really good tool, and tonight's a great night to use it because you have the gap between these games. Portland, DeAndre Ayton, too cheap. Good matchup. In a way, it's surprising that centers actually do score decently against the Lakers, but I do think it's a good enough matchup for him at 6,300. Like Denny Avdia as well. Scoot is really my next most interesting, and I think Simon's at low ownership. The problem is there's just when so many guys look good, that means that there's something that maybe we want to take a step back. I want to try to play more than 2. But I'm going to say right now, Avdia is the one I like the most. Don't mind the Kamara. I think Avdia, then Ayton, then Scoot would be my order of Portland players. On the Lakers side, Anthony Davis, great matchup for him. I like the idea of getting to one of LeBron or AD. For me, it would be AD. So I am going to click him here. And I know we've got some multiple spend ups. I like MB just with the savings, maybe a little bit better than AD. But I do think AD is a great play. And look, you're getting all the work for Reeves. I'm going to keep clicking that button. So I know it's kind of a broader core that I have right now, and I'm sure I'll update it a little bit later when we have a better idea what's going on. I'm going to try to, like I said, I'm going to try to go live at 6:30 Eastern. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to hit this, and I'll just show my core right now for where it's at. Usually we just, we do all the member stuff, but I'm not playing these days, so oops. I don't mind showing everybody exactly where I'm at, but these are sort of the guys I'd be building around on this particular slate. And as always with these, when they have the large gap between the games, I think the later games, if all things being equal, make sure to play the later games. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate everybody's love on the channel. I appreciate all you guys, and let's have a great night tonight. I'll see you guys in the Discord, and I'll see you guys live later today, probably 6:30. I will update and edit as soon as I can confirm the time. Good luck, everybody.